bring you back in from outside. So thank you so much. Did everybody enjoy lunch? Was it great or what? So we have a great afternoon planned for you. It was a great morning. Let's just give a hand to all the panelists from this morning. I want to thank you. So this afternoon, we're focusing largely on technology and change management. So we're going to start things off with a panel that everybody is interested in. But first, I understand that Naru brought 2 gift bags. So Naru, what do we got in the gift bags?
Stuff. Possibly better stuff than the prior gift bag.
Oh wow, so it's a mystery grab bag from Naru. All right, Naru, let's everybody get their tickets out.
Oh, my hand's too big.
Oh, that's what Josh said. What do we got?
All right, so we have 432-4847. Who has
432.
4847? Who has that? Probably still having lunch.
There's probably still some. Oh,
there
great.
you go.
Fantastic.
All right, Mark. Thank you.
All right, excellent. We got one more, Naru.
Okay, so 432-4872.
Bingo. Here we go. Oh, Sheree, come on up. What are we going to do?
Who said bingo? There we go.
Oh, all right, awesome.
Don't worry, I won't make you walk all the way.
Wing it out.
And so Lynn suggested to encourage interaction, we take Naru's 10 lovely Stacks AI shirts. And for the folks that ask questions, you get your choice in sizes, small, medium, large, I guess extra large. So
we'll throw them to you so you don't have to get up.
Awesome. Okay, great. So we're really excited to have this phenomenal panel. Naru, thank you for this. If you've ever heard Naru speak, I mean, he's just an absolute genius on technology and AI. And we're very happy to have the Tippers with us for the first time at our conference. Thank you, Katherine and Chris. And Petros, thank you so much. It's going to be a great panel. So Petros, Brother Naru, I'm going to let you take it from here. Maybe I'll walk around with the t-shirts as they ask questions.
Yeah.
Okay, and we got Lynn and Sue in the audience. Okay, take it away.
Okay, let's get started. First, figure out how to keep my phone from walking. All right, good afternoon.
Only there was an AI app for that.
I don't think you need AI for that. I just need common sense, which I don't have. So, good afternoon. I'm Naru, founder and CEO of Stacks AI. We specialize in AI technology solutions for TPAs, and I'm really excited to actually do this panel. We have Petros, Christopher, and Katherine over here. So let's dig in a little bit. Let's first let me start with some introductions because I think Don just mentioned Katherine and Christopher are here for the first year. So we'll start with Petros because I can't see you. That's okay. So Petros is a financial services entrepreneur, a retirement plan consultant, and a big advocate for financial literacy. He's a principal in 7 financial service firms, financial service and fintech companies. Between Spectrum, they help administer 2,200 plans with about $9.2 billion in assets. In 2011, he also co-founded Group IRA, a fintech company focused on improving IRA investment strategies and helping advisors scale their IRA portfolios. And today he's also a consultant at Intelligence, supporting both plan sponsors and their workforce.
I like to stay busy.
Yeah. We then have...
My bio is going to be a lot shorter.
No, I mean, you each have your own. So Christopher is the founder and CEO of Hunter Benefits Consulting Group, who is you're 25 this year.
26. Yeah, we're just not paying to have the logo updated. So.
Okay. They're based in Chicago, and so Christopher has been instrumental in challenging industry norms and advocating for continuous improvement in business practices. And also, he's the only other person I know of who has a simulator rig at his house. His is a
Sim racing, yes.
His is racing, mine's a flight simulator, but still. Katherine is the president and chief operating officer at Hunter Benefits, and she started as a loans and distributions processor or administrator, went on to financial management, and then heading operations, HR, all really getting the business to run. And Katherine's always been looking to break the status quo. I remember in earlier roundtable meetings that are hosted, she has been the one who's asked for like payroll integration solutions, a lot of AI use cases, talked about Copilot and things like that. So, and together the two of them host a YouTube channel called the 401 Couple, where they talk about new regulations, new changes, and demystify retirement plan administration for everyone.
Thank you, Nora.
Okay, so one other thing. In the prep call, we actually planned to dive right into the conversation here, but Don suggested that it makes a lot of sense that before we do that, we just go over some terminology, give a quick overview of what AI is, what solutions are there, how far it's come, and how it really impacts all of you. And we take about 5 minutes just to go over that at a high level so we can, when we get into the conversation, because there's going to be a lot of terms being thrown around, a lot of things that we discuss, that having that background is going to be really helpful. So, to start, artificial intelligence, that's what AI is, or at least what it stands for. It's a very broad field that is all about creating machines or technology that is capable of performing tasks that would normally require human-level intelligence. So if it's something that you think of, you need a person to be able to do a specific task, and it can take it, but traditional software can't, that's what artificial intelligence is. Machine learning, which is probably another term that a lot of you have already heard of, is a form of AI. So it is a kind of AI, but the concept of machine learning is that you give it a lot of data and input and tell it that for this given input, this is your target output, and that's how it learns to be able to do these tasks. So with traditional software and programming, you are specifying your decisional or conditional logic. So all of you here use Excel. When we use formulas, you can do your if-then statements and so on. If you've been adventurous enough to go into like VBA in Excel, you'll see that for macros as well. That's conditional logic. Machine learning doesn't actually require telling something how to do it. You tell it this is the input, this is what you want, and it figures it out. Deep learning, which is again used very interchangeably with machine learning, is where neural networks are used. And neural networks, they're a technology that emulate how your brain thinks, how your neurons actually work, how your synapses take in inputs, process them, and create electrochemical responses. And it's a technology where the software is going to do that to emulate how you think. And that's how AI is capable of performing human intelligence tasks. So, as an example for TPAs, and this would be one of two little plugs here. So at Stacks AI, we use deep learning for our trust accounting systems, where we pull data from statements, auto-populate them into spreadsheets. So it's learned from examples. So it's a machine learning or a deep learning approach. Similarly, we do that for pulling plan provisions from adoption agreements for takeover plans, or if provisions are not provided, and things like that. Okay, so now we get into some more of the fun terms. So the reason AI has become so popular and everyone uses it now is because of a technology called generative AI. So specifically, with machine and deep learning, you have inputs, you're expecting a very structured and defined output. With generative AI, these AI models are actually generating new content. So that includes whether it's text content, images, videos. So we're going to be talking about some of this, but with ChatGPT or Anthropic and these models, there's a lot of conversations you're having to generate marketing materials, review your emails and things like that. So that's where generative AI comes in. And large language models, I know this is like an old glossary here, but large language models, I can't say it's the last one, there's one more. LLMs, those are so ChatGPT is a large language model. These are models that are heavily focused on text and human language and being able to generate that. And This is plug number 2. So at Stacks AI, with our CX product, almost the entire AI suite is powered by LLM. So this includes tasks like summarizing your emails, analyzing your client satisfaction and pulse and reporting on it, auto-generating tasks, auto-generating emails. All of this is capable because of LLMs, which is a form of generative AI, which is a form of deep learning, which is a form of machine learning, which is a form of AI. Now, for the very last one, this is a topic that I was actually in our panel prep as well. Some of us here didn't even know of this, and that is agentic AI. So this is fair, it's not really new, but it's, again, being more popular recently. AI agents are systems that actually can do tasks on your behalf. So whether it's on your computer or on your phone, what's happening is these language models that you normally would have had to chat with, you'd have to ask questions and get responses, right? So like if you weren't using CX, but if you're using something like Copilot or ChatGPT and you wanted to summarize your emails or write a response, you're taking your emails, you're adding context, throwing it into a chat, it's doing its thing, and then you're pulling it back from there. With AI agents, they can actually do all of this directly from the model. So like Anthropic, which is one of the largest AI companies there right now, very similar to OpenAI, they launched a model context protocol which allows software developers to really give like a cheat sheet or a guidebook to the AI model saying this is how you use my software. So with that, these models can actually take a lot of these actions on your behalf. Done, was that?
That was
enough?
excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we done?
There we go.
You now
I
are
know,
certified. Now you are certified. Write down the 5-digit code, right?
You have an RO's AI certification. Okay, and so as we start, the reason AI is such a hot topic right now, why there's so many industries looking at this and why it's important, is because it has already shown how it's substantially revolutionizing so many industries, from fintech, healthcare, all of these. It's making a major impact. And there's a lot of analysts, a lot of researchers who are looking at this and actually seeing AI as making a bigger technological impact than even cloud computing. Yes, cloud computing was responsible for giving the capacity for AI, but even that migration from on-prem to cloud, this is providing a bigger overall impact. And a lot of that is because of the capability of these in performing human-like tasks and these agentic models. So with that being said, I think we have our panelists here, they've been early adopters of various different AI solutions and technology in general. They've always loved challenging the status quo, and so let's dive in, let's pick their brains and see what they have to say to help the rest of us. Okay.
You're just gonna let us loose?
Well, no, I'll start with two
Okay,
questions.
you have the questions.
I know the dangers of letting you loose. So let's start with this. Firstly, what motivated you to start adopting AI within your practice? Petrus, you want to start?
Sure. The wonderful thing about these tools, incidentally, is you don't have to understand a word that Naru just said to use them. So my first exposure at all of this stuff was back on Twitter. I actually saw some people that were commenting on, at the time it was ChatGPT when it first launched. And I said, this is really slick. Immediately I saw this is going to be transformative for business. So I began using it right away just for personal purposes at that point. Once it was publicly available, I started digesting and consuming what was available there when they offered their premium models at a fee. I embraced it and again, limited the scope of it to personal interactions, but then steadily we began integrating it into our business operations relatively soon thereafter.
Well, so when I first heard about OpenAI, I didn't quite realize how far behind it was back then, and I was definitely a skeptic as to what it was capable of doing because it was answering questions incorrectly because I was asking about what happened yesterday, all right? And it didn't know that. So we got to the point where it's a little bit more current. And then, it's probably Catherine's phrase, but I'm going to use it since I'm going before her. We heard the phrase, you're either going to be using AI or working for somebody who does. And anybody who's known me for more than 5 minutes knows I can't survive as an employee. So I have to be the one talking about, or leading, or at least wanting to implement AI. We start off with Copilot, so I'm gonna let Katherine talk about her boyfriend now.
Okay, so we're bringing that up. So it's really interesting in terms of change management in an organization. So we all know TPAs where you went from like Relias to FT William and your staff was gonna crucify you, right? Don't take away the software, I already know, to go to the next one. So the interesting thing about Copilot and how to get the staff motivated to like, this is a good idea, is I use Copilot, but the name before it was Bing. And Bing makes me think of Bing Crosby and White Christmas. So if you remember that scene where he's singing that really to left feet, yeah. So we call Copilot my boyfriend. And
The whole company knows.
it's Catherine's boyfriend, and it's set in front of him. And the thing is, because we use it to check things. And so we'll say, so, hey, let's go ask the boyfriend what they think after Christopher says something. Because we're trying to broaden the conversation. But the funny thing about calling it a boyfriend is, I think most of us know how to take the boyfriend, right? Like he's gonna be right 85, 95% of the time, right? But he's not gonna be 100% right. And so it's like a joke within the firm to get people to loosen up and not think that AI is the absolute God on top of, Mount Sinai. So,
But it's also infinitely more patient than I am.
well, and that is the funny thing, is one of the reasons I really like AI is, especially Copilot, is I can ask it like 15 questions and they can be half-baked, half thought through. It doesn't give me this side eye for asking a question that isn't perfect, okay? So for me, it allows me to be more creative, it allows me to push further. But the whole reason though why we jumped so hard was how angry I was about brokerage statements. I think that is a special torture that you hire a millennial and make them sit at a desk and open up envelopes and scan them into a computer. Think about that. That is torture. This is data that shouldn't happen. So the very first thing that we used was definitely Stacks AI, the brokerage statement thing, because it does reconciliation as well as scanning it in. But I was believing that I could probably not get the right kind of employee anymore because no one would put up with that, right? If you get a smart enough employee who wants to work for you, they're going to think that opening up statements, it's unspeakable.
It's a special slice of hell.
Yeah.
It actually is, yeah. So I think there's, a business case that you have to do some of this because the whole idea that we have all these repetitive tasks, it's gone. You can't charge the client enough for it. You can't find the human beings who want to do that work. It's coming.
And that's a great segue to the next question. I mean, we might actually skip it because you answered it, but I was gonna go over what were the most painful workflows that you felt needed a solution before you started adopting any AI. So we'll skip the statements part of it, but aside from that, what do you think? What were things that you really you looked at it and you said you have to solve it or it's not gonna let you scale up your business?
We didn't do this in the prep.
We did.
We did? Okay. I was there, I promise. I don't know, it's the smallest item, okay? And it's not just it's with Copilot and some other tools we're using. I'd come back from a weekend or I'd come back from a long weekend and I felt like I had to do 3 days of just sorting through my email. And we bought some, with Copilot and something, SaneBox, okay, we started buying some things and it was taking care of my email. And going away for a couple of days and taking some days off was, I thought something was broken. The first time I came back after Copilot and SaneBox, I'm like, I only have like 3 emails to deal with and everything else is just deleting. So dealing with post-day off stress was a big motivator.
Communications, no doubt, was the area of focus initially, and that's something any of you, if you're not actively using AI solutions right now, that's the quick hit. So certainly email management, summarizing correspondences, but also improving the quality of outbound communications, your emails. One of the things that generative AI can do today that's quite good is helping to improve not just on the quality and substance of the communication, but also considering things tone, sentiment, empathy, things we may not necessarily be conscious about as we're going through a whole volume of email correspondences in our inbox. By a quick show of hands, who's using just, say, the Microsoft stack internally for Office, Office 365, Word, Excel, Outlook, and the like here? Most, right? Yeah, just about. So the nice thing about, say, ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot and Grok and many of these other solutions is that they can kind of integrate with some of these apps relatively easily. Microsoft Copilot is just an extension of the Office suite, and at its licensing of just, I think it's about $20 per month per user. Again, I'm not an employee of Microsoft, this is not a plug, but it is a very low-cost way to have your teams internally get some of the support on just communications and email management. If you haven't done it yet, that's probably the quickest hit for any of you to adopt in your own businesses.
And I'd say it's just beautiful. Like, I work with QuickBooks a lot in my job function, and you can just ask it a question and it tells you exactly which things to click to get to the right place. Where you might spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes going through, it's all changed and where is something. It's an amazing assistant. It just really cuts down on the time and you're able to go deeper on things versus the wheel spinning time that you spend on things.
So one more thing for me is the concept of a knowledge silo makes me nuts, okay? And we bought two, well, it's from, so of course I just forgot the vendor. We've got two chatbots, smart.
Dante?
Yes, thank you, Dante. On the website and then internally inside on SharePoint. And what's nice about these chatbots is they only answer what you've told it. If you haven't given it the answer, it's not going to speak ill of TPAs because unless you've told it to do something. But what's nice about that is we're constantly feeding the one inside for the company to use so that they can go to a place and talk to it by typing and they can find stuff. Yes, we have to go through the time and effort of putting stuff in there, but it's helping to reduce the knowledge silos.
But you can
It's
just
not perfect yet.
just scan things that you've done.
Yeah.
And so then the knowledge base is very TPA specific. And that's one of the things to finally recognize is that right now if you type into Copilot or anything like that, a question, the answer you're going to get back, I think, is very financial advisor specific because they're the ones flooding the zone with all the information about 401k plans. Us as TPAs we have a specific viewpoint, we have a specific goal, and I think having either these closed systems or knowing what you're doing, you're getting an answer that is much more, looks like compliance than just selling a 401k plan.
So, I mean, you knew what you were facing and you saw the solutions out there. One of the big things that I think for everyone here that could be helpful is that the impact of AI sometimes is very intangible. It's very difficult for you to be able to forecast that and predict it before you make an investment into a solution like that. So how did you look at a new solution and analyze the ROI that you could be getting?
You have a good answer, I don't.
Just time savings. I actually have measured it. Since adopting generative AI tools in my own communications, it saves hours per week. It truly does. Again, if you're not doing this, start. Truly. Hours per week of savings. And that's simply time. Looks like we've got a question there in the back.
Young teacher.
What are the basic things that you're having to do that's saving these hours? Is there like a 90% of it or 80% of it? What's actually being freed up?
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful question. As you might have heard from the intros, I'm involved in a few different businesses, and the reality of my situation is that I have multiple inboxes that need to be managed as part of it. There's certain things there I cannot delegate to others. So because of that, relying on the right types of technology tools is particularly beneficial for me in my roles. So that's where the hours worth of savings has come into play for me. We're actually using these tools, at least in testing capacity as well. within the Spectrum family of companies, and we expect to roll it out more widely. The feedback that we're getting from our colleagues internally is that the time savings is also there for themselves, albeit not necessarily to the same degree because they're not managing multiple mailboxes. Those who are, because again, they are involved in a few different businesses within our family of companies, they are seeing productivity gains that are more significant along the lines of what I experienced.
But can you be more specific on the actual, what it's doing on the email side?
Sure, so summarizing a communication that comes in, first off, then to the extent that there's action required, identifying what the action steps are, helping then from a business perspective, me and other people internally relying on these tools to act on those items and make sure that it gets into the right spot, and then when a follow-up is necessary with the client, to help draft the correspondence. So you put all that together, I kid you not, we are talking about hours of savings at an individual level per week. Expand upon that within an organization of dozens of employees and you can see where the ROI is.
Yeah, and like you come back from a long weekend and somebody has had a 45 or 50 thread email chat, I'm like, what? Okay, and you just go to summarize and you look for your name. Okay, I haven't been told to do anything and we're not being sued, delete.
Or if you are being sued,
Forward to the attorney, yeah.
And I think one way you can also measure how it helps is all of us have staff where a client like either blows up or says something and we all feel something emotional. Sometimes actually copy and pasting that or just hitting the button that does it and say, please summarize what they're saying. And then also saying, what's a good response? It's not that you necessarily just send the AI response, but you actually make it more depersonalized. And all of us have been in careers where somebody said something and it blew us away so hard we couldn't respond well to it. And it took us out for a day or something, or maybe you guys go faster than I do on those emotions. But I've actually found it better to go, what was this person saying? What's wrong with it? And then, quite frankly, I'm happy to see all the happy scores on my clients because it has the temperature thing, because when you're in this business, you tend to hear all the negative stuff, right? It's all the negative clients driving things, all the people who have thin skin, who don't like that. But guess what? 85, 95% of your clients are actually think you do a great job, right? So it actually helps, I think, give us some perspective over the whole book.
I had two questions. My first question is in regards to Copilot. Will it help organize your email as well? If you have folders, for certain topics, it won't do that. Okay.
No, that's what we got SaneDocs for.
Okay, and then my other question is, I love AI. I use it a lot to reduce the time I spent writing communications. We were advised not to use it on our website for anything that we generated for the website. We were told that Google and whatnot can detect that it was written by AI and that your ranking will go down. Is that true? It looks like maybe that's the case.
There's nothing on the website about it.
I've heard that, and somebody told me then there's another AI that helps it sound better. But there's different AIs to pick, but I would say use that as maybe your first draft, and then you as the human being are the second draft.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what he's talking about. We've got a chatbot on there.
No, I think go ahead.
Well, we're still gonna have the chatbot on there. We have a better chatbot than Hertz, okay? Which is like 4 questions you can ask it. So I don't know, I've not heard about that, and I'm not sure how it's picking that one up. So we got some of the other questions behind
Let me
over there.
actually add to that really
Is that
quick.
wrong?
If you, at the end of your prompt, just ask it to write it in a way that it doesn't seem like it's from AI. It does a great job. One of the big things that these models overuse are M dashes. This is a long dashes you see in text, so a lot of times their scanner's just looking for that. So I found just adding that on there, just saying make it more personable and less formal, it actually does a pretty good job of doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Do you summarize before it's sent to like your clients, or is it in a box where you review it before it's sent?
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah.
review before you send it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just automatic.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You get to review.
Is it hard to set up if you have Copilot?
Well, no, if you have the right level, if you have the right license level of Office 365 and you pay the extra $20, it's there. You're not setting it up, it's there, okay?
And becoming more visible every day, I'd say, too.
Because I heard that Copilot could take an adoption agreement and do a synopsis of it. I've tried it and I can't get it to do it. Does it have any of it?
Since you can't load PDF into it, I'm not sure how.
Okay.
So we've done that with ChatGPT.
Maybe it was, okay. so
Yeah, and ChatGPT works reasonably well for that. And actually, that's a good point. So there's going to be different AI solutions that are going to work better for different business use cases. And, you know, internally, as you're exploring these options in your own organization, that might be one of the things that you want to try to carve out is what specific tool fits your business needs best for that specific use case.
Okay.
So-
Sure. So I asked, somebody had told me, and I thought it was Copilot, could take a adoption agreement and do a synopsis of it. But I'm learning now that it's ChatGPT that can do that. Okay.
So the other thing about why we're sticking with Copilot is that because of how we have it set up, you can actually load a census into it, okay? It's not, the information inside is not going out to the web. It's getting information from the web to give you an answer, but it's secure. Because like if you use the free version of OpenAI, that's going out to the web.
Okay, so before we continue with some more questions, let's dive into this. So, can you talk about how these tools are really blending within your workflow? And we can, and if you want to extend that, we can also go into the actual adoption with your team because that's, that goes into the next panel around change management. But let's talk about how you're able to get these to integrate, how you're not to a certain extent, and what you can do to help your team actually get the most out of it.
I'd say right now we're super cautious about it doing anything with compliance, just because we believe compliance should be 100% right, okay? So it needs to be checked. So our clients, so we have, we're using it all the time. We haven't rolled it out to everyone because the whole, are they going to do the review and a great job of doing it? So there's some management of your staff that I think it's okay not to rush your staff into it. But what they're using it is in the software they already have. And so it's both amazing, but then once again, it's like changing software, changing thought patterns, which is really actually hard in the staff.
So there's what the staff is using, and then there's what I'm using, and I'm sitting here thinking, I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm trying to remember what life was like beforehand. I'm starting to not remember what's different because I'm using AI. I mean, Excel is so much easier figuring things out, equations out. One of the things we had a big problem with communications with outside people was we were trying to be polite. We were trying to be professional. Turns out we were using a passive voice because how we're raised to be polite to somebody outside, you use a passive voice. Yeah, well, that doesn't work.
Midwesterners.
Or with Midwesterners, okay? So we're rewriting all of our communication to use a professional active voice, and we're getting a lot more. Things are just a lot better communicating with the outside world, okay? But then inside CX, where the staff sees a lot, is how we have the aggregated emails with the smiley faces or the frowny faces. People can, if they're not smart enough to get out of jury duty, or they're sick or something like that, they're on vacation. Occasionally we let our staff take vacation. We can go and see what they've been communicating about with the client, or when an advisor calls up and says, you guys haven't been talking to the client. Oh, really? Well, we've got an email communication from them 4 hours ago, and there's 9 emails 6 days ago. What are you talking about? Okay, so again, it's part of the knowledge silo for me, and that everybody's able to use, is that there's a much better idea of how the company is communicating via email with the clients and the advisors.
In terms of the change management piece, I would focus on selling people on the value, just as a lot of times we introduce other changes into our business, whether it's technology or the like, you sell them on the value. So I'll give you a specific example. Suppose you have a sales professional whose job it is to obviously drum up business opportunities. You're able to potentially bring in information about a potential target from the public domain, maybe some information about their LinkedIn profile, maybe other information in the public domain that's available about that business leader, someone that their sales professional is trying to target. And then you have communications that are drafted in a way that generative AI might suggest is most conducive for that person to engage. Doesn't mean that your batting average is necessarily going to grow materially, but it may be just enough of an edge to get your foot into the door to win an opportunity. That's what's available today. Very simple solutions that can be done, so you sell the sales professional on the opportunity there. For your compliance administrators, how many times have we had, let's say, a technical issue arise with a client plan, and we struggle to communicate that issue to a client? I teach financial literacy. I teach it to middle school students. One of the huge mistakes that I made was to take really significant concepts and fail to make it approachable to a 7th and 8th grade audience. So one of the prompts that I love is, write this for a 7th or 8th grader. There's nothing that says your compliance administrators couldn't do something similar. Not necessarily 7th and 8th grader, but for a layperson who is not exposed to the technical aspects of retirement plan compliance. So again, it comes to selling people on the value and how it's going to benefit their work.
Can you actually expand on that? Like you said, you've tried it, right? So what did it say? How did it ask you to communicate with them? How can you portray that value to the
Like with respect to the prompts?
not the prompts, but the responses to the prompts. Like what are the answers? Like how do you do that?
Well, I could use the specific use cases around, let's see, like for financial literacy, okay? The course that I teach, time value of money, probably among the most fundamental and significant concepts in the world of finance. Everything extends from the fact that there is a time value that's associated with money. How do you explain that and articulate it to a younger audience? So, you start with the basic. Money is time.
I think that's
it. Money is time. And then like a house, you kind of build on top of that with some of the concepts. It was basically just that approach that generative AI offered, is you start with something basic and fundamental, a fundamental truth. Money is time. And then you layer the next brick on top of it. And you get ultimately to more sophisticated communications and deeper concepts from there. But that's where it starts, it starts with a fundamental truth and then you just build upon it.
So I've been using it to help draft some marketing pieces, and the problem with knowing what you're talking about is you don't know what you're leaving out. So when you put it in there and you tell it what the audience is, what am I missing? And it comes up with paragraphs of assumptions you've made. And you can go back and clarify those and fill in the holes.
Do we have any questions from the audience around adopting AI,
One over
change
right.
management? We have more t-shirts.
You mentioned using Copilot and loading a census. Can you tell me what you do, what you get out of it, examples?
That's an example of it's being secure. I'm not saying we're doing anything with it.
Okay. All right, well, we'll continue the discussion and see if there's anything else that come up. So from your perspective, what advice would you give to TPAs or anyone who is nervous about adopting AI in their firm?
I'd say just start playing with it because it doesn't judge you. It doesn't give you side eye. If you get the wrong question the first time, you can ask the same question slightly different 10 times and see what you get. And you can ask it for more options. And so I say it's less judgmental than human beings.
And if you're worried about it replacing you, understand it better and figure out how to make yourself not replaceable by it.
I guess a couple of questions is like, one of the things that fundamental on, doing research, et cetera, on the internet is being able to evaluate the input that you're getting. Sometimes you have to weed out the true stuff from the false stuff. So the first question is like, how does that interact? Because like you say, you ask it a question, maybe you don't get the answer you want, and you keep asking the same question. So, probably teaching it how to respond to you.
Does OpenAI have footnotes? Does it link you to the source?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So, and am I allowed to name a vendor who's not here, Dawn? Is that okay?
You're recording it and putting it
Huh?
online.
Okay. So, when you're using OpenAI, ChatGPT, it'll tell you where it's coming from, for the most part. And if you can't find what it's telling you on that page, go somewhere, start over again, or don't trust it, all right? And then Aristopedia now has its AI-based, which I really like, question the books inside Aristopedia, and what I found out was that if you've got a footnote, and if all the footnotes are the same, and they're pointing to a page where none of the answers it's giving you are on that page, it's hallucinating, okay? But if you can find, the answer on the page, I'm trusting it, because it's linking to the actual code site.
Okay, and then the follow-up is like, I guess what I would see as a good application of something in the realm of AI would be feeding in, let's say, an adoption agreement. And having that adoption agreement fill out, let's say, ASC, for the evaluation. So in other words, I know it's in the document, I can put that document into my administrative package. I see that as, to me, more helpful than, let's say, in figuring out how to communicate.
I would have like a huge caution though, and I know we're sitting right next to a vendor, okay? So honest thing is, I like it when someone else figures that out for me so that there's not a mistake. Like, right now even you can have F.T. Williams can populate things about un-American funds and other things. Part of actually what we should be doing is pushing our vendors to do the right thing and do good things. That's part of, that's one of my beliefs of why I'm here and why I'm part of Dawn's group actually, because Dawn is amazing on a phone call with a vendor where she doesn't let them go, We were on Black Diamond together and she was fierce, I loved it. But I think we should push our vendors to do it and do it well for us. And then we get that closer to 100%. But the other thing that I wanted to say to what you asked was, you can say, hey, go to the IRS website and tell me what it says about Safe Harbor, or something like that. And you can tell it where to go and how to find it for you. So in terms of getting back better answers, some of that is how to ask more directive questions.
So I don't think what he's asking for is available right now, but Nara, what do you think?
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
We can
afternoon.
talk after.
I have a question over here. Question, how, all my data and everything is on, file servers like in my office. We're not on the cloud, we're on premises. So how powerful could an AI tool, like either Copilot or something else, how powerful could it be to look through the things that I have on my file server and say, hey, I did a calculation for a client, I can't remember what it was. Or can I have an example of a letter that says this or that? Those kinds of things. Like I have a lot of data, like thousands, hundreds of thousands of Word and Excel files and stuff like that. Like, can it really look through all that information?
Okay, so I think the question is like, how smart is it with on-prem? I didn't think it worked at all.
Yeah, kind of.
Right?
Unfortunately
You
not.
need to be in the cloud.
ChatGPT though does have a Google Drive integration. That's one of the only ones we've seen. I don't think anyone here likely uses Google Drive. But if it is on-prem, one of the biggest problems there, or challenges, is that there's no way for the model to get easy access to that data. So that's why going on cloud is going to be a prerequisite for any of these models to even be able to access that information to get your responses with it.
Well, presumably if, I took my terabytes of data and put it in cloud folders, then it could go through and answer questions about my clients and my things and letters we've sent and valuation reports that might be in there and things like that.
Yes, if it is on cloud, there are many different solutions to help with that. And part of this technology is called retrieval augmented generation, where it vectorizes or converts all of your existing content into a space that AI understands, and so it can actually communicate with it and get the information.
Yeah, that's the question I get a lot, like in my office day to day, is someone asks me to do something or to find something or to research something. And I know it's in there somewhere, but it's gonna take me 25 minutes to find the client that I was working on where that was applicable. Okay, cool.
And as a follow-up to that, I have a question too on cybersecurity. So with all the AI integration and so forth, how do you address any cybersecurity issues or concerns?
I think you have all the same concerns you have normally, so you just gotta be really good at cybersecurity, right? Are there unique ones, you think?
Truth be known, all of our stuff's out there for every one of us at this stage. Now, make no mistake, as service providers, we have an obligation to our clients. It may be contractual, it may be ethical, professional standards of conduct and the like, but let's not kid ourselves. Everyone out here, in all probability, has their personal private information, social security numbers, dates of birth, address information, dependents. It's in the public domain, whether we like to acknowledge it or not. So what do we do as service providers? The best that we possibly can to manage cyber risks within the constraints that we have.
And this is why we're using Copilot as our primary
That's right,
AI, is because it doesn't leave Office 365.
Great.
And if you are going to be using some of the publicly available tools, make sure that you have a licensing arrangement with it where it's not sharing that data more broadly.
For instance, if you have a free ChatGPT subscription, that information will be used to train and that'll go in other places.
That's right.
So that's why they have a subscription for it. Like Petra said, if people really wanted to access your data, they can. But from a basic ethical and operational standpoint, look for SOC 2 compliance. That's by AI TPA. It goes through and ensures that your organization meets certain security controls and standards. So look for vendors that have that and certify that to you when you have your agreement with them as well. So just so we don't end on that very ominous note here.
Happy thought, Nara.
Well, let's go into something a bit more exciting. What's your
Can I
wish?
ask one question?
Is there more?
Yeah, sorry. So I've been using Grammarly for about 2 years now. You're saying that Copilot would replace that?
We have an employee who we will take Grammarly from her cold dead fingers, okay? So she gets to use Grammarly, okay? But yeah, for the most part, we haven't seen the need to enterprise-wide deploy Grammarly.
Okay, because I do have a license with it, and so now I can cancel that and just use my Copilot.
It's a little bit, my understanding is a little different user interface, she's just more comfortable with it, but yeah.
So this last question, before any more from the audience, what's your wish list for from AI for TPAs? Like if there was something that could be built in the next month, if you don't even consider that, something that could be built, period, and you think that's going to completely change how you operate and help you, what is that?
I mean, it's just all the software vendors talking to each other, meaning a very seamless sharing of information between each database. And then that makes it just much more elegant to solve the problems we're meant to solve.
Mine are much simpler than that, okay? The first one's super simple. So you know when you copy an email address and you paste it somewhere else that has all that crap characters in front of it? Why can't you guys figure out how just to paste the email address, okay? Holding you personally responsible, Naro, because you're up here, okay? And then I think it's a variation on the gentleman's question up there. I would like somehow to have all of our SharePoint sites be able to quickly and readily, I would like to be able to talk to my SharePoint and it know what I'm talking about.
I think for me, if I could wave a wand and have immediate support right now from some form of AI, it would be around plan implementations. I would love a vision at one point where you could have a plan in a day. Conversion from soup to nuts, in a day. Now, obviously, we've got black
Okay,
and
so you're asking
light,
for a lot.
okay, I get that. But I'm talking about, for all practical purposes, the labor effort that goes into that process to be done in a day through the help of generative AI.
And what about from the audience? Do we have any other questions? Any wish list items? I mean, there are multiple vendors here doing different things, so this is a good opportunity to let them know what you want to see. No,
Come on, we
no
still got
one has
t-shirts.
problems
We got
anymore.
No, there was one more.
No.
So this whole concept is kind of new. I'm on the record keeping side, right? So my understanding from Lincoln's perspective is we're going to get some sort of bot technology to help participants fill out forms that they need. You know, what are you seeing like from record keepers that are doing this great? What's to come on the record keeping side, I guess?
The legacy ones are really slow. They're really behind. You know, we're looking forward to figuring something out with Vestwell, because it's semi-fintech, but they seem to be, you know, the best of the bunch. So, but like I say, you know, we do a lot with Hancock and everybody else, and they're just like API phobic, so no. That's what I'm seeing. Unfortunately. You gonna make a change there? Dude, I'm in sales.
I mean, I think it's always about what adds value. And some of our processes, like onboarding, how tedious it is, I don't know that it adds value to the client, value to our employees, value to anyone. It's just, it's merging two systems that the legacy of them, they just don't talk well. So, you know, I think AI can be used to find the weaknesses to create and streamline the process. I'm not sure if it's just budgets or imagination that keeps it from happening.
If it's digital, AI can help right now, immediately, full stop. If it's physical, 25 years. It's not going to be fixing your HVAC system anytime soon. It can help you with an ADP test today.
I think, you know, if there's anything that AI could do, and it's purely computational, you input a census and it gives you the optimal design based on what your goals are.
100%.
Because, I mean, you can see, okay, this looks good for cross-testing, it doesn't look good for cross-testing, but, you know, it could do the heavy lifting in figuring out, you know, what the parameters are and where your mini-maxes are.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage you to think about the use cases for AI in that context. If you haven't already assembled a team internally, maybe some folk with good quality technological acumen, business acumen that could think through some of those opportunities. You could even rely on AI to help create a list of those potential opportunities within your business. And then just start picking them off one at a time. What's the lowest hanging fruit for you to adopt internally? The cost of these solutions are very, very approachable.
And I think you're kind of touching though the issue of who you hire and who you train and who you use, I believe will shift over time. Well, it needs to shift. And part of it is so much of our industry has been about that brute force of calling or emailing the client 100 times to get the data, right? Looking through really bad censuses, mind-numbing, to finally find the one problem. What people see as heroic and work now, you know, whatever that thing is, it's shifting to something different, and it's being either more curious or even pushing harder through things. Like I said, sometimes you have to ask AI 5 different versions of the question to get the right one. If you only ask it one question and you don't like what you see, it doesn't mean it's broken. It means you're learning how to ask the right questions. And then I'd also say it depends on the AIs you're using. What I'm always surprised listening to Naru is just how many AIs there are out there. And using a language-based model to do Excel is kind of like putting a rock in your shoe. You know, there's some AIs that are better at that than others, so some of it is you need to be savvy in terms of just thinking things through, but the beautiful point is you could ask ChatGPT, what's the best AI to use for Excel spreadsheets, and it will tell you.
It might favor itself.
It
even
would
if
favor
it
itself,
isn't, but-
okay.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a great way to end this amazing panel. I'd love to thank Petros, Christopher, and Katherine, and I think you've definitely inspired a lot of people here to dig in a
Hope so.
no?
Hope so, I hope
Okay,
so.
dig in a bit more, so.
And just to let everybody know, we are recording this, and it's going to be
Tell them
both.
afterwards.
What did you say?
You're telling them afterwards.
I know, so you didn't have to take notes. But we're going to both have it on our YouTube channel, and
Well-
you're gonna have it on some of your.
We're gonna, I don't know how much is ending up on the YouTube, so we'll see.
Okay, well, there'll be highlights.
There we go.
We'll talk about it more.
Yes.
All right, go check out the 401
Thank you.
Mobile on
Give me the
YouTube.
side eye, that's my takeaway, Catherine. Awesome, thank you. Great job, awesome, thank you so much.